Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hola, welcome
Hola.
back.
Yeah.
She's
Yes.
pretty amazing in what she does. She's a Hayoka, which is a storyteller. She's a clairvoyant. She can channel messages. She has insight. She's a card reader. She's
I'm a Hayoka.
You know what? I'm not, before I even introduce you, what is a Hayoka? I know what it is, but I want to make sure that everybody else is on the same page.
Well, we're all different. We all have different specialities. Mine happens to be storytelling because I'm not big enough to carry a bow and arrow or a big stick. So I just tell stories to express myself. A Hayoka is made from an already born human being like me and you. We get born through our mamas, through the blessings of the Creator, and we walk around like innocent children. And then because of what we're made of, the resonant sound our body creates, thunder beings are drawn to us and choose us. For some, it comes in a really powerful dream. I don't know about dreams, because you're the only one that sees them. It's probably, I know it's true. For myself, I had a physical alteration. I had an altercation with the Great Maker, and I got altered. Lightning itself, little bolts and balls of bright blue light, flipped in and out of my body and up and down and around my apartment for, 7 or 8 hours one night during a storm out in western Oklahoma, or in Oklahoma. To become Hayoka, not only do you need to survive such an assault on your physical body, I thought it tickled. The veterans in my house ran for cover. They thought I was being killed. But because of my response, first I was made to resonate in a certain song. And then that song drew lightning, sort of. The thunderbolts came and visited me. They came in and out. There were witnesses. That still did not make me Hayoka. I was not Hayoka until a Lakota medicine man declared me so in front of a Lakota population. And they all welcomed me. For me, it was 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and everybody raised their beer glasses and hoo-hawed for me when I did not know what a Hayoka was and wondered what they were calling the little white girl. It is to learn what one is. I am no longer the owner of myself. I belong to Spirit. I have been claimed and named by Great Spirit or God or the Almighty. I've been singled out, as certain other individuals are, I'm not the only one, to speak for the Maker. Not what I would say necessarily. Mama told me not to say some of that stuff. But when a message is needed for a particular set of ears, and my mouth can reach those ears, it opens up and blah, comes out. Sometimes I'm aware of it. Sometimes I become aware of it as an after effect when people are staring at me and wondered why I just said that. I am, in effect, a puppet of God in that respect. Only, and Hayoka kind of actually translates to a crazy person. I'm the tribe crazy person. They honor and respect me because God has singled me out to be specially crazy.
She admits it, though.
I admit it. I'm very proud.
I want to ask, before we even go, this is Janis Reed, by the way.
Oh, hi, I'm Janis Reed. I live in Southwest Virginia. Come call me. Call on me.
West Virginia.
Western Virginia. Yeah,
Mama.
You have to throw that. You have to throw that extra "ern" in there because it's Western Virginia.
West. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm thinking of the John Denver song.
I do it too, but I've made that song over to include that syllable.
Gotcha. What I want to go back before we get into, and by the way, if you want to reach us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. If you have a question about anything that you need insight on, or maybe a message channeled from Spirit, whatever it might be,
Would you like to hear a story that answers your question?
Well, my question goes back to what you were saying before about your ability as a Hyoka. This lightning situation, how long ago did that take place?
I was looking it up. It's been about 30 years now.
Okay. Wow.
And it's
All right.
taken 30 years for me to be able to admit this in public, stand up straight, and keep my face, well, relatively my face, because I am an anomaly in the white people world. I know I look like a white people. I am like half German and half Cherokee, so I'm a conglomeration.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing I recently learned, that to become a Heyoka, to be qualified, you need to have that blood of a native running in your veins at least 7 generations back. For me, it's my great grandmother, my dad's grandma. I didn't know that part until just a few days ago. So it's the term Heyoka is not something anyone is going to learn how to become or be taught. It comes literally out of the blue. You either survive it or you don't. It's a gauntlet. It's a dream. It's a physical action. The reality and everything changes. The way that we see the world is different from other people. Something is open in my eyes that isn't there for other people. But it is for other Heyoka and other medicine men who recognize me, and women who recognize me when I'm out and about walking in the world. I went with a group to Peru. The,
Hmm.
the man that we had hired to kind of talk about the local culture, they all kind of shied away from him. He grabbed me up. We all said, hey, 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 how are you? We love you. It's so good to see you, my love, my love. We were best friends from the get-go because we recognized each other. Our, our people in our group were not in a position to recognize reality when it sat there and looked at them. They were still looking for what it looked like in the books or what they had imagined. You know, people who speak for God are supposed to be sweet and kind and Pope-like and, you know, Mary-like, and I'm none of those things. God is a creator and a destroyer of worlds. And you cannot change the world you're standing in unless you destroy the one you're leaving. You have to change your mind. You have to change your outlook, your thoughts.
Is that also when they say that you need to leave something behind before you can go to the next level? Like, for example, yeah, when one door closes, another door opens. It's a cliche, yes, but some believe that you're not going to get to this door or whatever's waiting for you over here until you get rid of that over there. Just it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. There was a cartoon I cut out of the newspaper when I was in middle school. I think it fell apart eventually, but it was one of the one-panel cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the dog. He's pulling against his chain, and his chain is attached to his doghouse, and he is training to pull that doghouse, and he's going somewhere. And he said, let's see, changing my house wouldn't be so hard if I didn't have to take it with me.
Because
And
it's
I thought,
connected. Yeah.
yeah, it's connected. You can't, if your hands are full, you can't hold anymore. So sometimes we have to let go of what we're really certain about. Like for myself, whether or not I'm actually a sane person while I have this odd job working through a Lakota theology, having been raised by Southern Baptist school teachers and a lapsed Methodist who was a motorcycle bad boy. There's a combination for my life changes, the different places I've lived. I I'm always looking for God because that's just who I hang with. Spirit. It's been since I was little. It was hard for me to understand that people actually would claim to have God in their hearts and then go beat their dog. It was very confusing for me.
Mm.
So I did step away from organized religions because I could not hold, I could not stand on what they were spouting. There was too many holes in the floorboards. And so I withdrew and went straight to the source. I'm a ballsy little woman. I just went straight to the source and I talked to God's mama. Yeah, a lot of people think you go up to the top, you talk to God. You talk to his mama. The mother of God, that sweet mother of God, whatever you call her, Great Spirit, she was the maker of all things and she's seen everything. And so when I want reality for hardcore real, this is real in the world of spirit, not to be confused with the world of physicality, I go to the top. I sit and talk to mama. Us girls, we talk like sisters. And she reminds me that it's a work in progress. We have to love our children no matter how many times they step on our toes.
Mm.
People learn at different paces, different lifetimes sometimes, in order to learn one small thing. I have had many lifetimes that built up to this frequency that I could tolerate those thunder beings as they rushed in and out and danced all through me. What a party. Recently, there was a little boy and his father that were struck by lightning, and the little boy survived for a while. But he didn't survive. And so if there was any questions, no, he was not in process of becoming Heyoka. He was in process of becoming. And he's doing that work now somewhere else. And I'm sorry that his people have to miss him. We get caught up with this idea that what we were raised to believe is the only reality. And that's fair. Our parents and our leaders want us generally to be safe and comfortable, believe in ourselves, and go to sleep at night with the belief that it's okay to close our eyes in this country. But that has turned into a well-meaning response to a cover-up, so that people now deny the reality of needing to check their bets. For me, I believe God is good, God is great, and all that stuff. And when Jesus in the book said, love one another, man, I just fell hook, line, and sinker. When Martin Luther King stood and gave his great speech, I was on the floor of our den, on my belly, absolutely enthralled. I was sucked into those words, and I've believed every one of them ever since. I just resonated to those words. I believe. As much as people would like to say that, few can say it honestly. They believe most of it, but they're holding out just in case. Most people generally check their bets, and they want to pretend or believe that they alone can control their world. There's a person I've been mentoring for a while who thought that by commanding the angels, she could bring peace to confusion. And I asked her where she got that idea that she was big enough to command the angels. I mean, she ain't no bigger than I am. That's just silly talk. But it was something she had been raised or had read or had heard taught, that was the way to command the will of God's, rather than to consider the will of God. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because I can swing my arm in the air and command the angels doesn't mean it's a good idea. It's a much better idea to swing my arm and say, yo, anybody want to help me figure this one out? I got a piece of chewing gum. We can share the Coke and we'll talk about it. And I learn back and forth. It's a communication between that creates and this that has been created. I am, remember, created. I'm not the same child my mother birthed. Although, to be fair, that was maybe a precursor to becoming this. Little personal family secret. My mother had 2 wombs.
Seriously?
Seriously. My
Wow.
brother and my brother and sister are dark and brown eyed. Only me came out looking like this. I mean, if you told them, yeah, that's a Cherokee, oh, that's definitely Native American. Not me. I look like my mother from her German side. She had to have a hysterectomy because of some serious woman troubles. And they were going to take the uterus out, and they removed it and realized that there was a second one behind it, and it was occupied. So that both uterus had been used in the birthing of her 3, almost 4 children. I was an anomaly from the get-go.
Wow. I've never heard of that. And I
I
actually thought, Janice, that you were joking in the beginning when you mentioned it. Like maybe
mm,
that it was like a literal kind of thing. Not yeah. Wow.
yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah. I didn't know this. I don't know that my sister or brother, I know my brother didn't know it. I had to tell him. He was a boy. Why would she tell him? And my older sister, she looked so much like my father's side. I don't know if she heard the story or not, but being my mother's replica, when I came to that time of my life, reaching puberty, she started asking me questions and telling me stories about why she was asking. And she told me the story. And she cried because she really hated that she missed that 4th child. It would have been a boy. I'd have had a brother just like me. Can you imagine 2 of me in the world? Yeah, that's probably was a
Well,
no-go from the start. But
I'm a
um,
twin. I'm a twin. There's another one, except
there
it's
you go.
fraternal. Um,
Yeah,
but
which one of you is better looking though?
well, I like to say I'm smarter because I was born 15 minutes earlier, so I go with that one.
You've had more time to educate. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to run out of time.
You
Speaking of
ready?
speaking of time, but we said last time we got together that we solicited from people to get questions they had that they wanted you to answer through spirit or whatever means. And I don't know
Oh,
how this works, but I don't want to run out of time. So I have one
yeah,
here.
let's do it.
How do we do this?
Okay, well, first off, oh my goodness, you chose one from an email instead of sticking it in your jar. So I got all this stuff to get through. It's like I'm cutting in through the wires. I asked how and what kind of story I could answer this question with or this concern with today. And we've sort of been touching on it already. There's a story that I'll read you that I wrote it down, so I got it straight. It's a weird little story, so
Now you
but
feel that this is potentially
this
going
is the
to
answer. Mhm.
okay. You know what this is almost like? I don't know if you remember back in the day, Johnny Carson. I think it was called the Great Karnak, where he would just
In the
read.
mayonnaise jar, yes.
He managed, he'd put the question on his head and then he'd give the answer and then read the question. We're kind of doing
Yeah.
that today, aren't we?
I always liked Johnny Carson. I
Me
had
too.
forgotten about that. I need a hat.
Yeah.
Now I need a bed pillow so I can stick it on my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had the big like Swami Karnak hat. You need
Right.
you need a Janice hat. But
Well,
okay.
see, I did a reading a long time ago, and I worked really hard with this woman to give her the straight. And she was a scary woman. She's bigger than me, and she's very set in her ways. And when I told her, she said, "Well, that's your opinion." And I got really angry because there was no way I could argue with that. There was no proof for that pudding. And so I did have a discussion with my maker and asked that I only have to work with the answer. And so spirit takes care of the question, and I just have to provide the answer. That way, when I get the question later, nobody can say that was your opinion or that's what you heard, in the streets. So I like this better. It's a little bit more clear. It's a little more iffy sometimes and more dramatic, educational, entertaining. But here it is. I have pre-answered the question you have chosen. So yeah, it's been sitting in a mayonnaise jar on your desk in a computer now overnight. Working our stamina, the stamina we use to uphold our boundaries, that gives us a message that teaches us our self-esteem. holding up our boundaries can bind the message that's trying to teach us self-esteem. If I really want to wear this shirt and only this shirt will make me feel good today, but I look like a stuffed elephant in it, and I wear that shirt anyway, it's going to prevent me from being comfortable when I do this conversation with you. And that's going to cut into my self-esteem because I'm going to worry about what other people are looking at. And if they think I look like a sausage stuffed into a roll or who knows, whatever, it's distracting.
Mm-hmm.
Our own self-esteem, trying to keep our heads above water so that we don't fall into a depression, that very self-esteem can limit us because we think to be we have to act the part, fake it till we make it. So we go off being brave and we're scared to death without realizing that it's our fear that's going to keep us from crossing that street. We get so bound up with presenting our facade that we forget. I'm trying to say this right. We forget the message that we're trying to teach ourselves. We're trying to teach ourselves to accept God. But if we only see God as a white man Christian with one of those Pope hats and long skirts with lacy edges, you're going to have a problem sitting out there with me and my tribe, cross-legged in the sand. You will deny your experience for a more full understanding of the powers that be if your self-esteem binds you into only one shape. You cut yourself off from what could be many more blessings by insisting that it only looks like this. The only answer you want to answer, the only answer that you want is the one you want. And the reason you sent that question in is to find out what I'm going to have to say about it. You can want it all you want. I wanted not to be Heyoka for a little while. That didn't work out. We have to work with what reality is. What we want for myself, I want to be more in line with my best life. And if that has to mean that I have to give up my product and I have to give up, all the diamonds and the fancy toys and the fancy cars, and I have to sit on the sand cross-legged, for me, that's a good trade. The stuff that mankind makes, our egos, our self-esteem, our self-image, they take us away from our reality of what we really are. It's like the third grader that looks away when the other third grader gets beat up because she's afraid she'll be beat up next if she says anything. She says, speak up. Say, wait, that's not right. And if she gets beat up, well, at least she'll have one other person who's beat up to be on her side. We need to get back in touch with this person, this question. Get in touch with what your heart, what your mother told you, what your priest told you is the right idea. Stop paying so much attention to what everybody else thinks you're supposed to look like, because they don't. It's only you that thinks you need to present in a certain way. It's only you that thinks you need to wear the costume and buy the goodies and show up, at the prom and have everything. To be the person people want to sit beside, be yourself. Be honest and authentic. Remember what it's like to be authentic, because that is where your self-esteem needs to sit, not with what color your nails are or what party you vote for.
So I don't want to run out of time, but I want to give you
Tell us the question.
The question. Okay.
What was that about anyway?
Oh, yeah, the question.
Yeah.
That is from Kelsey in Easton, Pennsylvania. She says, I have a job offer. It's very different than my current job. Should I take it?
So now, listening to that about what we have in mind as self-esteem, are you going to take that job because you want the perks? Do you want the product? Or are you taking that job because it fills your heart? It makes you feel more satisfied inside. If that job is only going for the perks, you might as well stay where you are, no matter what they pay you. But if it really answers something that you need to be doing in this world, go for it, because that is the perk you're looking for. That's the real deal self-esteem. That's not out there self-esteem.
This is very interesting. You had no idea what it was, what the question was, but it does pertain to what we just, but what you said before you knew the question pertains to it.
Ain't that something? That's what I do. And so now we know that's what I do. People
and you do
imagine,
it well.
And imagine though, when I'm doing this for one client at a time, we set an appointment for several days later. And then I provide the story after I've had several days and nights to listen for the story. This was just overnight. If I spent a week looking for this, we'd still be here next week answering this question.
And I can't even imagine if you actually knew what the question was, the kind of insight that you would provide. So there you go. Janet, we're out of time. How do we find you?
Don't come to my house. Find me at Goddess Janis 2 on Outlook.com. I think you'll spell it out on your screen, maybe. You can check out a website we've been working on. It's janisreed.com, www.janisreed.com. You can find me on Facebook at Janis Reed. I answer and respond to messages and questions in the little box on the bottom.
Wow.
That's good for now. I'm not going to give out my phone number straight up, but if you'll contact me, that'll probably be how we talk, is over the telephone. I use an old-fashioned landline. I cannot text because I live between two granite mountain tops, and there's no cell signal down here in the bottom. There's a cell signal a quarter of a mile away, but it doesn't reach me in the bottom of my valley. So I'm on a computer, I'm on a telephone, I'm not on a cell phone.
Wow. And that's all good. Janis, great having you here with us. Fascinating.
Well, thanks for letting me do my due. Let's do it again. You want to do it next week?
I'll catch you next week.
Oh, cool.
And everybody, put it in our virtual question jar. instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. If you have a question for her and she can answer it, whether she knows the question or not, you'll get the answer.
And I'd like to really thank Kelsey for putting a question in the hamper. I hope that it serves her. If she wants to reach out to me privately, I'll be more than happy to talk with her later.
Wonderful. We'll see you next week. Okay.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.